on! It's mine! I'm using it! Well, you need to ask first! You wasn't around! I don't care. Are you gonna wait? Give it back!
I just wanted to enjoy a sandwich. Can't they get along for a few minutes?
No, they're too different. They're like oil and water.
Isn't that why we decided to have an emulsifier?
An emulsifier?
Hey, little baby, do you want to come play with us? Come on, let's go downstairs and play androids and aliens with her.
What did you call her?
An emulsifier.
Oh, don't tell me. Is this another sauce making video? How many of these are there?
Many.
Well, let's just get this over with.
No, you're supposed to ask what an emulsion is.
I didn't agree to be in this one. Okay, fine. What's an emulsion?
An emulsion is a colloid of two immiscible liquids.
Well, now you're just trying to sound smart.
It means a mixing of two unmixable liquids, like water and oil, which you can force together into getting along with the addition of another ingredient, an emulsifier.
Oh, now you're stealing toys too?
Well, their toys are more fun than mine. Anyway, an emulsifier is a molecule that on one end is hydrophilic, and that side likes to dissolve into water. The other side is hydrophobic, and that side likes to dissolve into oil. This holds minuscule droplets of those two unmixable liquids together, forming a colloid, basically a creamy sauce.
But without the cream. Now, give the toy back.
Well, cream is a colloid, as is butter, ice cream, and even blood.
Blah.
I might disagree with that sentiment, but that episode will be a ways away. For now, let's take a look at some emulsifiers. In our packaged food, we are likely to find things like guar gum, which comes from a bean, several that come from algae, such as algine, carrageenan, and agar, or lecithin from soybeans or sunflowers, as well as some synthetic emulsifiers that I won't bother going into. However, the most common emulsifiers you probably have in your kitchen right now. Those are garlic, mustard, both dry and wet, and finally, egg yolks, which is the foundation for the sauce that we'll be making. Behold, the humble mayonnaise jar.
Where'd you get that?
Found in almost every American household and the most popular sandwich condiment. Believe it or not, there was a time when this humble sauce...
That's not a sauce.
Sure it is. And once it was considered a luxury sauce because it was so labor-intensive and time-consuming to make.
So why bother making it if it's so cheap to buy now?
Because, thanks to one of my favorite food gadgets, it is quick and easy. I don't even buy mayo from the store anymore.
Except that guy.
It might be stolen, but only so I could replace it. You see, store-bought mayonnaise is so bland and usually has unnecessary ingredients added to it. Plus, it is so easy to customize your mayo to your own taste, especially if you make it yourself. All you need to know is the basic ingredients: eggs, water, and oil. A good mayo starts with good eggs. Store-bought is fine, but if you can get your hands on some from some locally raised chickens, even better. Egg yolks are what contain the emulsifiers we need, but leaving the whites in will actually help with stabilizing the sauce. Speaking of stabilizing, adding mustard really makes homemade mayonnaise even easier to make. Plus, it adds a bit more flavor. You can use dry or wet mustard, such as the common yellow, spicy brown, Dijon, or any combination that suits you.
So is the mayonnaise just going to taste like mustard?
A little yellow mustard won't affect the flavor much, but they could add an additional egg yolk or two instead if they are really adverse to the mustard. Let's move on to water. An emulsion requires both water and oil, which needs to maintain balance or the sauce will break apart. We also want a balance of flavor, so it is best to use a water-based acid for this category. A white wine vinegar is traditional, but I often reach for apple cider vinegar. Then we have malt vinegar, red wine, balsamic, and even some more exotic craft vinegars such as this one. Fruit juices are also some really great options that can bring a lot of character to your mayo. First, we have lemon juice, which is traditional, but you could just as easily use lime juice, grapefruit, orange, and even pineapple juice. I often like a 50-50 blend of juice and vinegar, but this is just another area where you can really make the flavor your own. Oils best kept neutral is something like soy, corn, canola, light olive oil, or avocado oil. Strongly flavored oils like seed or nut oils, or even infused oils can be added at the end to enhance the desired flavor though. Now, on to the techniques. Traditionally, you whisk egg yolks by hand with the addition of lemon juice and white wine vinegar, adding oil drop by drop, carefully increasing the oil to a stream until your arms are on fire. I still hear chefs to this day insist this is the only way to make mayonnaise. To them, I say this. Not only is it time consuming and impractical, I can get far better results with a bit of machinery. A food processor is the best machine for the job.
Are we going to get a ratio for mayonnaise?
Some ratios have been offered, but most of them are based around how much oil a yolk can emulsify. A single yolk can thicken about 12 cups of oil as long as enough water is added to maintain balance. This doesn't account for personal preference of flavor though, so I hesitate to give a ratio to be religiously adhered to. The best I have on it is if it looks really thick and shiny, you need to add more water, vinegar, or lemon juice. If you add too much oil without enough water, it will split. If that does happen, pour it in a separate container, then start all over again with another egg and more water, juice, or vinegar, and remake your mayo using the broken one as the oil. It'll come together nicely. But if you want to take away all of the guesswork, I will give you the ratio for how I make my mayo, and then I'll show you how I actually measure my ingredients. My mayo is a ratio of 2 parts eggs, 1 part water, half part mustard, and 9 parts oil. But instead of pulling out the kitchen scale, let me show you my foolproof measuring method. What the? Oh. We start with 2 whole eggs. Then we use our regular soup spoon from the kitchen drawer to add 3 spoonfuls each of lemon juice and vinegar. I'm going with apple cider vinegar, but you can use any vinegar you want. Then we add a heaping spoonful of mustard. I like a bit of yellow and Dijon. Next, we hit it with a teaspoon of fine salt, and I like to add half a teaspoon each of garlic powder and smoked paprika and a 1/4 teaspoon of white pepper. Lid up and pulse for a few seconds until frothy and completely homogeneous. Next, we open the food processor and add about a half a cup of our 18 ounces or 2 1/4 cups of oil. Lid up again and run for 10 seconds. Then add half of our remaining oil and take it for another 10-second spin. Lid off again, scrape down the bowl once more and add the rest of the oil. Then take it for one final 10-second spin. Here we taste test and check the consistency. If too thick, add water. Too runny, more oil. Keep in mind that it will thicken once it's cold. Want more tang? Add more lemon juice and or vinegar, or any more spices and salt to adjust to taste. You can use it now, but it is best to let it sit for about an hour before refrigerating so the flavors can meld a bit.
So you're just going to leave raw eggs sitting on the counter?
Look, when it comes to CDC, NIH, or FDA guidelines, they're always going to err on the side of caution and recommend using pasteurized eggs because of the risk of salmonella poisoning. But even according to those sources, the chances of having an egg that actually carries a strain that can even get you sick is incredibly small. All of that said, the salt and acid in your mayo makes for a pretty inhospitable environment for salmonella to thrive.
Oh, okay then. So, how is this different from an aioli?
Well, technically, an aioli uses garlic mashed to a pulp in a mortar and pestle with olive oil slowly added until it emulsifies. It did start to become common to add egg yolks to help with the emulsion, and since olive oil gets to be so bitter when overmixed, you really ought to do it by hand. These days, aioli has become a fancy term for adding stuff to mayonnaise. The correct term for that, however, is a remoulade, which is underutilized in the home kitchen. Most house sauces at restaurants are remoulards. Remember, you can make your mayonnaise your own, so you might as well throw in a few more ingredients to create some custom remoulades of your own. Want a chili lime mayo for roasted corn? Use lime juice and its zest with some chili pepper, cumin, and diced roasted chilies. Making Kahlua pulled pork sandwiches? Use pineapple juice and diced mango with a bit of habanero. Try adding garam masala to make a curry chicken salad. Just heat the oil first, add the spices to it to bloom, and then use it once it's cool.
Well, now you've made me hungry. Can you make me a sandwich?
Finally, some peace and quiet to go with my sandwich.
No kidding. But you know, a salad would go really nice with these as well.
You're right. Vinaigrettes are emulsions too. But salads are way more than oily dressings. There are so many different ways to dress salads. You go with just vinegar or just oil, especially homemade infused oils. There are buttermilk bases, or you could use yogurts, creme fraiche, or purees from anything from herbs and onions to beans. Some salads can be dressed with just oil, and others with just vinegar. Some salads don't need any dressing at all, but rather just the natural juices.